Okay, I'm going to demonstrate the new 70. I can find a place to put this camera. There we go. Okay, the old 70 looks like this. Oh, Martha, can you give me my medications? I have 5 medications that I'm taking. Oh, thank you. That's the old 70. Here's the new 70. It's called Ardha Baddha Padmasana. And the same thing in reverse. Ardha Baddha Padmasana. Now I'm going to do the bound lotus here in the world of the new 70. This is Padmasana. I'm about to go swimming, so this is what I do before I go swimming. If you're low-fat, raw, vegan, and you're 70, this is what you do. Bound lotus position. This is Baddha Padmasana. So we do it both sides. So I'm about 500% more flexible right now at the age of 70 than I was at the age of 20. And I keep getting more flexible. So that is Baddha Padmasana. The first one I did was Ardha Baddha Padmasana. I forget what this is called. It's super good for the wrist, though. That just goes right into the wrist. So that's a little demo. There's lots of other stuff that I can do, like the splits. I figure I have the flexibility of a 20-year-old ballet dancer. So what does being a raw foodist have to do with that? Well, for one thing, it gives you the energy. You need energy to do these kind of things. All right. For another thing, if you're on a path to not get old, it provides you with that much more motivation. To live an alternative lifestyle. Specifically because you know of the benefits. But anyways. This is the cobbler pose. They call this the cobbler pose. I forget what it's called in Sanskrit, but they've found that cobblers in India have an incredibly minimal occurrence of prostate cancer because they sit all day long like this, fixing shoes. Anyways, this is my little playground when I come over to Kona to work. This is a $500 a night beach. If you want to stay in the hotel and use the beach. Just want to make a point about the kind of shape you can keep yourself in, and how being a low-fat raw vegan backs that up. Oh. Nobody I ever knew that was 70 when I was growing up had this kind of flexibility. Of course, I work at it. I'm not going to say I don't work at it. But, you know, being very light physically because of the constant diet of high water content food, not weighed down, not overweight, not slowed down, not on any kind of medications that are toxic and take away your energy and your resistance to disease. So anyways, this week, I'm just finishing up having moved. It took me quite a while. It took me a couple of weeks. I went from living in the paradise jungle with multiple fruit trees in total seclusion. And now I'm living in a community called Kalapana, which is an old lava flow. So there's very little vegetation. We're now approaching my little enclave, little Puna suburb here. So I'm right down there beyond that bush on the left. Anyways, there's very little vegetation. The trade-off is that I have twice as much space. I don't have to do a work trade. I can have a roommate if I want. So there's quite a bit of trade-off, which means ultimately I'll be paying much less rent. And because I have additional space, I can set up an art studio and a music studio. And it's kind of a funky community. It's very kind of artsy. I mean, it's just a big old lava flow covered hundreds of acres. Here's my favorite little cabana that I passed by. Little gingerbread house. There's another one in the back. There's a group of houses over there. There's an outpost. Pretty simple. Just build a deck, put up a frame, catch the water from the sky, get some propane, and you're good to go. Some solar panels, and you're ready to hang out in Hawaii. Just throwing up different kinds of dwellings. There's no permits required or any of that stuff. It's all off grid. So it's a whole different ball game. It's a new page, a new chapter. After a great deal of debate, I wound up actually buying another car, which, boy, I really had to be pensive about that. My car died. I wound up selling it for parts, and I got around for a few weeks on my bicycle, which is no big deal, but I found that the dirt road to my new place is incredibly difficult on a bicycle. And I figured if I bought a car now, if I bought a good car, I wouldn't have to buy another one for a very, very long time. So I did. I got a great deal on a Lexus RX 350. It's like an SUV. It's like a luxury SUV, but it's mid-size. So now I have a reliable vehicle, which is going to make life a whole lot easier. I'm still not driving it over to Kona, though. drive it down to Hilo. I park it in a shelter down there, and I jump on the bus. Come over here. I don't need a car over here. Everything's close by. Everything's, you know, you only have to negotiate a few hills. So it's very easy on a bike. And then I'll go back on Monday and pick up my car and drive home. So, you know, I'm only going to put like 100 miles a week on this car, so, you know, it should last forever. Definitely the nicest car I've ever had. And after 6 months of dealing with the Priuses just do not go along with this humid tropical weather. They have way too much electronics. You know, once they start going, they start going. You know, there's no turning back. When those electronics start failing, you really need to have a nice garage to park it in, which I never did. And you're better staying off the dirt roads because it's a very low car, which I never did. So anyways, it had its day. That's okay. I had it for 8 years. Only paid $6,000 for it. So less than $1,000 a year to have a perfectly good running car for 8 years, which I never had to put any money into until the very end. So that's kind of my situation at the moment. Looking for a roommate, setting up my art studio, my music studio, got my bands going, and that's what's happening for me as a raw vegan, a low-fat raw vegan in Hawaii. I like this pose. It's very comfortable. Very good for the wrists if you're a guitar player. You know, you're always worrying about your wrists, getting carpal tunnel and all that kind of stuff. But these poses where you're up on your wrist, putting your full weight on your wrist, just go way deep into those carpal areas, stretching all those muscles, creating space between the bones. I've forgotten the Sanskrit names of a lot of these poses, so I can't rattle them off like I used to. I'll have to brush up. But oh. Anyways, that is the new 70. Or actually in 2 weeks, on the 17th of May, I'll be 71. So that's the new 71.